Hey everyone, it's Monday and time for another Monday Mastery live at 5. It's been a crazy weekend for me. Over 1,500 miles of driving this weekend. I have a car for sale back in Kansas City, and I had a guy wanted to buy it. So I needed to drive back to Kansas City. He couldn't wait till I got back in September. So it was just a crazy whirlwind weekend, and of one day driving down, one day in the city, and then one day driving back. And I'm not used to that stuff anymore. This is crazy. So I hope you guys all had a great week last week and had a fun weekend this weekend. Up here, where the colors are starting to show up on the trees. I know it's only the end of August, but there's a lot of yellow starting to show up, and some of the maples are starting to turn red, and it's the dread of winter is starting to set in with me. It feels like we just got going with summer, and here we're turning around, and the season is starting to come to a close. Um, Today, I've got a special guest with me. Her name is Tammy Smith, and she is the founder of TGIT. Thank God it's today. And she's a motivational speaker, and she has an amazing story. And Tammy and I met, I don't know, a couple of years ago, and we just struck it off, and we have common missions, common goals. And so, without further ado, I'm going to bring Tammy on, and we're going to start talking about dating and relationships, and maybe even divorce and the struggles of going through rotten divorces, and just whatever else comes up. So, welcome, Tammy. Is glad to see you. Glad to have you here.
Thank you so much, my dear friend. It's so good to see you again.
It's my pleasure. So, why don't you tell our audience a little bit about who you are and where TGIT came from, and we'll just roll, and then as questions or comments come in, we'll take those, and we'll roll from there.
That sounds great. Well, first of all, thank you for having me. Thank you to all of your wonderful listeners for joining us. I appreciate your support, Rick, and then the support of all the people online. It has been like a foundation for me. It's helping me launch my mission in life, which is to help other people. That being said, that is where TGIT came from. It stands for Thank God It's Today, because I was in a very dark relationship, a very dark marriage. And unfortunately, I was almost killed from that marriage. And I came out of that not knowing where I was going to go, because you're starting over after so many years. And I really had to find myself again, to find out who Tammy was. And it's a painful journey. It was very dark in a lot of times, and very great in a lot of ways, but it is a journey nonetheless, and journeys are always hard no matter what. So TGIT started whenever I was working out one day after I came out of that relationship, and I was like, TGIF, thank God it's Friday. And God just spoke very clearly to me and said, why do you wait for Friday? You almost didn't get Friday to be thankful. You should be grateful for every single day. Thank God it's today. And I was like, whoa, it was a light bulb moment. I mean, like a light illuminated in my heart and my soul. And I jumped on my Facebook vlog, because that's what I do, is do Facebook lives on my page. And I jumped on and shared that phrase, and it resonated with people immediately. Like immediately people were like, this is life changing. And I was like, yeah, I know. That's what happened to me. It was life changing for me. So therein, TGIT, Thank God It's Today, was born. That's my baby.
Awesome. And I've you and I've been friends. We met through Facebook a couple of years ago, and through you we had a common publicist for a while, and so we've worked together, and done a couple of these things together on through other podcasts. So what's been going on lately? Tell me where you're at and what's going on, and we'll go from there.
Well, I will share this part of my story, which I'm just now finally getting to share since the divorce was finalized. I honestly thought that, once I filed for divorce and came out of that situation, that, oh, I was free. And you remember this, Rick. I was like, I'm
Yeah.
free, I'm free. Little did I know that was just the beginning of the journey. I was nowhere near free. I had to work through a lot on my own. There was a lot of fear involved, a lot of, again, like I shared, finding myself again after a
Hmm.
decade and a half of your life and starting completely over from scratch. It was really hard. And I couldn't get the divorce finalized due to COVID and other parts of the situation. And I went through a really, really dark time. I quit blogging. I struggled with, alcohol abuse. I turned to that as a vice. It was an escapism. It truly was just like an escape from the pain, which I've learned that a lot of domestic abuse survivors do go through. Unfortunately, I chose that. But I quickly realized this is not who I am. And I'm here to be better than that. But then again, it's all part of your journey. And I know that many people struggle with vices that they turn to, and all of them are detrimental, but everybody has a vice no matter what. And so, as hard as it is for me to share that period in my life, I know that I have to because I know there are other people out there that are struggling currently with the same thing. Like, I just can't break out of this, I can't be free. And I say, thank God. It's just the grace of God and Him loving me and saying, get up, get up, you got something to do. I'm just grateful that I listened, that I was close enough to Him, and that I walked through that and I'm out of that dark place because it was rock bottom for me. It was the darkest place of my journey. And I went through a major health issue due to stress. It triggered a major health issue in my body, and they couldn't find anything wrong, but everything was wrong. My body was shutting down. And I will have to say that even though I faced death, that was nowhere near as scary as my health failing. Because when your body starts shutting down and you have no explanations from four doctors, it's the scariest feeling ever. I just thought, I'm dying. I'm never going to come out of this. And that's when I hit rock bottom. I just thought, there's no hope. There's no hope for me. My own body is failing me. My fingernails started falling out, and I mean, I still don't have one. Here I am. I'm real. I still don't have a fingernail. I covered up. Um, but it was a very scary time in my life, and I really did not know day to day if I was going to make it through or not. But again, like I said, by the grace of God, they got everything figured out. My health is clear and clean now, thank God. And that was the weight off of my shoulders. The finality of the divorce and my health coming back on track is what allowed me to come out of that dark place and to go forward. And here I am again.
Awesome. Well, we're glad you're coming out of it, and
Thank you.
I know I walked side by side with you through part of your journey, and you are an amazing woman. You're an amazing talent. You're an amazing inspiration to so many people. And folks, those of you that are watching, you need to check out Tammy's business page, and it's just Tammy. That's correct, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Go to Tammy, look her up, or go to at Tammy, and you'll find her on Facebook. And she has some amazing videos, some amazing thoughts, some amazing stories that she tells when God speaks to her. It's just such powerful messages. So I can't emphasize checking that out enough. And if you guys have any questions or thoughts or concerns or comments, go ahead and share them. For those of you that are here regularly, let us know that you're here. Say hi and tell us where you're from. But in the meantime, one of the things that I've noticed recently is there are a lot of people, and maybe you can help talk to this. There are so many people that are so negative on dating, so negative on especially online dating. Recently on, and this comes, the comments typically come from my Facebook ad, and it's just and I've had two comments in the last 2 days that nobody's, and I quote, nobody's honest on online dating, or at least the guys, none of the guys are honest. And it's just, when I see that, my heart breaks for them, because they've been burned, and they've internalized that, and they're literally shutting down. They're saying, no, I can't do this. It's not worth it. Real quickly, hey Lanny, Lanny's in Dallas. And Shar says, hi, Tammy and Rick. Shar from Aiken, South Carolina. Thanks for coming to share your important story with us.
You're so welcome.
And Nancy Nancy says hi. She's in, I think you're still in Lake Ozark or Camdenton area. And Trisha says hello from Independence. Hey, Trisha. So thanks for that, and anybody else can chime in, and if you've got comments or questions, please feel free. But anyway, I've found that this negativity is just so deep, and it's almost as if they've given up. Not almost, it is, they've given up, and they see no hope, no future, no possibility for them. And that's really, for me, and I don't know about you, but when I see that, my heart aches for them, that they feel that down, or that let down by dating and relationships.
I can honestly say I was there after leaving my marriage. When I filed for divorce, I was like, I am so done. I am so over this. I'm meant to walk the earth alone. I'm that lost soul that I'm never going to have love. And I really, really did feel that way. And I was just completely done. I was jaded. I was hurt. I was crushed. Here I am, like, at the time I was 45, wasn't allowed to have a job, couldn't continue my education. And I'm like, really? All of my life I've given away, and now I have to rebuild from nothing. So it was a very, very hard place for me, a very scary place. Like I said, the dominant thing that I've had to endure is fear on many levels. And I can recall going to the beach and spending time with God, which you, Rick, know that I personally love. That's my place of solitude, where I really connect with God. And at that particular time, I was sitting on the beach, and the sunset was coming, and I was by myself sitting there watching the sunset. And there was a little elderly couple beside me, probably 75, 80-ish. And he was taking pictures of his wife with his cell phone. And I was like, can I take the picture of the two of you? And he said, we would love that. And I took their picture, and then he got the bag, and he picked her up, and he held her by her arm, and they walked all the way up the beach, and he never let go of her arm. And I watched them until I couldn't see them anymore, and then I broke. Right there on the beach at sunset, I broke. And God said to me, I did not create you to be alone. You were created to be with someone. Just be patient. But love is priceless. And I knew right then and there that even though I had been through all I had, many failed relationships. Of course, clearly they were all failed, or I wouldn't be single. But
True.
I knew then, there is still hope. And that little couple, I took their picture and it blessed them, but they didn't know that they changed my life forever by watching them that day, and that they softened my heart. True love still does exist. And so that day, I knew that there's hope, and it changed me. So if you're out there, trust me, I know just like many of you out there, that it is hard. It's hard to start over. It's hard to trust people. Believe me, I probably have more walls up than the Great Wall of China.
Yeah, and we've talked about that at length over the past couple of years. Yeah, you have some pretty huge walls,
I
and
have,
and
I have. Yeah.
yeah, and Stacy says hi yeah, from Midlothian, Texas,
Yeah.
and she's starting over. And Sam, glad you're here from Central California. Lois from Arkansas. And she says thank. Let me just pop this up real quick. Lois says thank you for sharing your story with us. Praying for your happiness, Tammy.
Thank you so much. And I'm praying for
Awesome.
you as well.
And Shar says what a great story. Gives me hope. Absolutely, and that's why that's why I love having Tammy on here. She is so inspirational, and I look back at my marriage, and it was a mediocre marriage at best, but it was nothing compared to what Tammy goes through and what others go through. It just this and Tammy, you just give me a whole new appreciation for dating and relationships and just uh, your appreciation for God and your love for God and your ability to share that in such a way that you just connect with so many people. Um, Lenny says, I pray for patience. I get situations to exercise patience. Yeah, be careful what you pray for.
I all the time. Never pray for patience. Oh, mercy. Lesson learned.
I've prayed that prayer. Dear Lord, give me patience and give it to me now.
Right.
So, but and Lanny, it's one of those things that patience. This is going to sound crazy. Patience comes with time and experience, and it's when you have to sit and wait for things, when you have to just bite your tongue in situations, it's just. I don't know how to explain it any differently. When I first started dating, I knew in 9 months I'd be with my soulmate and I'd be living happily ever after. And I've shared this story on here before, but 11 and a half years later, I'm still
Oh,
searching for my soulmate. So I'm slowly learning patience. But what this has done for me, what this time has done for me, is it's allowed me to peel back the layers. Like you said, Tammy, you're taking time to find yourself. You're peeling back the layers to find out who Tammy is. And I remember shortly, well, it's probably a year or so ago, when we were talking about how you ordered some mulch in and you were playing in your flower beds and how you hadn't done that in so long and how refreshing that was and how that was just peeling back one of the layers, how much you loved doing that. And so so there's those types of things. For me it was finding my sense of humor. And the point of this is that it takes time, and the whole idea is to get to a point where you're comfortable with your own company, that you don't need to have somebody there. And I'm not saying that you shouldn't have somebody there, but when you get to a point where you're comfortable with your own company and you can take a relationship or leave it, you're dating from a position of power. That you're not desperate and making poor decisions, and putting yourself in situations or into relationships that are just not healthy.
I agree with that. And in the beginning, I was nowhere near ready to even date anyone. And unfortunately, through pressure, oh, you should really go out with my friend. I've known him my whole life. He's just this great person. Well, that wasn't the case. Maybe he is a great person, and I'm sure he is, but he wasn't a great person for me, and not at that time. And what I had to be patient with was finding me again, finding my own friendships with girlfriends, and exactly what you said, being alone. I learned that, running to the beach was great, but it's not going to solve everything. Again, it was another vice. If I just escape for the weekend, I don't have to face reality at home. And that meant my kids were gone and I was home alone. A lot of that had to do, now as I reflect back on that, a lot of that had to do with being in this home, because that was the environment I was in for all of that time. But another piece of that was, I just don't want to face it. I don't want to face what I have to go through, that I have to pick up all the pieces of my broken life and somehow try, you know, refigure this whole thing. It was still an escape. Running here and there was still an escape. And eventually I got to a place where I enjoy sitting here by my pool and being out back in my yard and sitting in my hot tub. And that's a beautiful place to be. I have to say that.
Awesome. Yeah, I just and I folks, I hope you picked up on this, that she, how Tammy has her trips and the beach, and knowing her as I do, is her favorite spot, and is one of her nicknames for herself is she's a mermaid. And it's amazing, and it's awesome to hear how you're peeling back the layers and recognizing your trips to the beach were an escape, and you were running away from the issues that you had to deal with. Let me catch up on some of the comments here, where they're starting to come in a little bit fast and furious. Lanny says sometimes the prayers are answered, but not the way we want or expect. Oh, that is so true. Like the Garth Brooks song. Some of the what I forget how. Unanswered prayers. Yeah. And Nancy says, after going through 34 years of a toxic marriage, getting divorced, then meeting the love of my life and his unexpected death, I do get the thinking, and that being alone is safe. There you go. And Deb says, hi from Los Angeles. I missed the story, but I'll catch it on the replay. Well, I think this is going to be like Tammy. This is going to be peeling the layers. We're going to be sharing a little bit here and there as we go. But yeah, do go back, and you only missed about 20 minutes, so there's still a lot to come. Tammy is an awesome girlfriend. Fun times and more to come. Love you, girl.
Love you too, Stacy. Thank you for being my wonderful friend.
And Sam says, Tammy, what are some of the ways that you use to drop the walls? I'm in a relationship, but many of my walls are still very solid. Real trust being the most difficult one to pull the bricks out of. What worked or has worked for you?
Definitely a lot of self-reflecting, looking at my own issues. When a lot of times when we're going through things, we tend to just put the walls up and everybody's an enemy. Sometimes we are our greatest enemy, our own selves. And I think that I was, I had to get the mentality right that I can make it through this, and it will be safe to let somebody love me again. And you know what? All I can do is give that my all. And you have to break the walls down by yourself, which we just come to that realization recently. Someone said that. And it is true. I definitely would have called myself a fortress, like I said, completely. And unfortunately, I would push away anybody that tried to care about me. And the people that cared about me the most, I pushed away the hardest, because you're too afraid to let what happened to you happen again. But those aren't those same people. And we erroneously put the faces of the people that hurt us onto the people that don't deserve that. You project that onto them. And that's very unfair. And I think a lot of times, like I said, we're our own greatest enemy, and we prevent people that really can care about us from doing that by our own issues. So it's best to kind of just take it slow and reflect on your own inner demons and go, okay, how do I deal with this? Because it's not their problem, it's my problem. And I need to work on this so that they can love me. So self love, number one, self love. I lost your sound, Rick.
That's my fault. I was trying to get rid of some of the echo on your end, and I turned my microphone off. So sorry about that.
Okay.
Not only you lost it, everybody else lost it.
Well, you're back. That's all that matters.
I'm back. I'm back. No, what I was saying is that's a great observation. That you have to break down the walls yourself. It's I've got 12 thoughts going in 20 different directions, and and one of them is that we and it's a saying that I got from a guy a business coach by the name of Jim Rohn. I don't know if anybody of you have ever heard of him, but he said one of the things he's quoted for is he said the walls that you build up to protect your heart are the same walls that are going to keep out the love that you're seeking. So you have to be careful about these walls, and like Tammy says, you have to tear them down. And one of the observations that I've made is, in working with lots and lots of people, and dating and in relationships, is that where was I going with that? Sorry, folks.
Letting people in. That's the truth.
Yeah,
And we don't let them in, and a lot of them can be great people.
Absolutely. But then another aspect or another thought that was floating through my mind when you were talking is that you have to remember that the person you're with now is not your ex.
That's right. And that's the biggest part of that.
Yeah, and I recognized that years ago. A couple of years after my divorce, I don't know, 3 or 4 years after my divorce, I was dating a woman, and all of a sudden, and I won't go through the whole story, but all of a sudden, my emotions were going crazy. But fortunately, I was wise enough at the time to stop and say, "Hey, what's going on?" And wondering and figured, and it only took me a couple of seconds to figure out, this is what my ex used to do, and it used to make me crazy. And when you start coming across those emotions, and Sam, this is free. I've got this gnat that's flying around here, Tammy, and it went halfway up my nose before the broadcast, and it's trying to go in my eye here, and I see my hands going like this, and you guys can't see it. I can't see it on the screen. Anyway, you have to be careful that you don't apply triggers that came from past relationships. They could even come from your parents, because a lot of this stuff is imprinted on us from our childhood, the way we were raised. I look at when I was growing up, I thought my household was a normal household. And as I grew up and got out of the house, I recognized how dysfunctional it really was. And so, and I'm not picking on my parents. They did the best they could, and I as a young parent many years ago, I know I was as dysfunctional as anyone. I made my mistakes. We have to recognize that. But the point of this is we have to learn and grow from those mistakes. We have to recognize what triggers us along the way, and not attribute that to our current mate or the person you're dating. So Sam, think about those things. Is she doing something that triggers you, but that trigger was set by a past relationship, a bad experience, or something that happened way back when?
And
So,
unfortunately for me, that is exactly where I was at. You know, I'm so gun shy, and I it's a self-defense mechanism, unfortunately.
yep.
Whenever I've gone through what I've gone through, it's not going to be easy for the person that loves me to walk through that with me. But I knew that. And so I honestly felt I'm being vulnerable here and being very open. I thought, nobody can deal with all of this. I can't deal with it. I don't know how to come out of this. How can anybody love me enough to not just walk away and say, it's too much? And so what happens? Another wall.
Mm-hmm.
It's a self defense mechanism. It's okay, I can't figure this out. Surely nobody else is going to love me enough to figure it out with me. And so what do? You push away. It's sad, but it is like a boomerang effect. You feel this, you throw that out, and you get negative back. And so the hard part of it is having to finally let those walls down and go, okay, this is not my ex, and this person is good, and they are going to love me and walk with me through it and try. That's the hardest part. And, you know, all we can do is try and give it our all and see what happens.
Absolutely. Quick comment. Phil says hi from Olathe, and he says love takes time. And Sam says thank you, Tammy. The other thing, Sam, that I want to share is that to get into a relationship, if you really want this relationship to work, you have to become vulnerable. Like Tammy said, she's being totally vulnerable here. You have to be vulnerable in the relationship. You have to be prepared, and I guess even willing to be hurt. The
Yeah.
intention is not to get hurt, but until you put yourself in that position and open yourself up to being vulnerable, you still have too many walls in front of you, and you're going to end up keeping out potentially the greatest love of your life. And and I can't say, and it could be another toxic relationship. You have to be able to discern what creates a red flag for you. Does she have all your must-haves? Does she have any of your deal breakers? And one of the things that I see on a regular basis is people dating other people that have their deal breakers.
Right.
And it's just it makes no sense, because ultimately you're settling for less than extraordinary. And Phil says, look for the right person for the right relationship. Absolutely. And that's what we all should be doing. Like Phil says, is looking for the right person for the right relationship, looking for your extraordinary.
And a big piece of what I took from the people that I did date after my marriage was, you know, at first I was just devastated whenever the first thing didn't work out. And I was just like, see, it's hopeless. This was before my love scene on the beach, the little couple that changed me forever. But I was just like, see, I never should have tried. I just got hurt again. I never, ever am going to try again. But it took me that self reflection to go, no, 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 no. I didn't waste my time. I learned. And I'll tell y'all a phrase that my oldest son told me after that dating scenario. We had dinner together, and I was just like, oh, I can't believe I even tried. And he said, Mom, the first pancake never comes out.
That's awesome. It's so true.
I would like to thank my son Tim for his great wisdom, because that has stuck with me. Mom, the first pancake never comes out. And I was like, oh my gosh, what a profound wisdom from such a young man in his 20s. But he is very wise. And that was so true. It was the very first situation I had been involved in since that relationship. But I still took a lot of great things from it. And he was a good man. And I learned a lot of things that I loved and wanted in a relationship. But then there were weaknesses in him that couldn't come forward in a relationship with me. So I don't fault him for it, and I don't look back with regret. I look back at what I learned from that, and I grew to know what I wanted more. And so I do encourage all of you out there that are still looking, definitely write down your must-haves and definitely write down your deal breakers. And the first thing, if they're like, "Oh, I live, across the country," I'm like, "Nope, nope, we can't talk." Well, we can still. I'll move there. I can't count on hands and toes how many times somebody's told me I'll move there and they've never even met me. No, it's a no.
Yeah, well, Tammy, you are a beautiful woman, so you're going to get a lot of with all due respect, you're going to get a lot of creepers. It's just people that aren't serious. And this brings up a great point because they fall in love with looks
Right.
without knowing the personality, without knowing the person. And looks are only, the physical attraction is only part of the equation. You have to be able to develop an intellectual connection, a spiritual connection, an emotional connection in addition to the physical. And it's just there are so many components. And with all due respect, guys, we are the dumb as a box of rocks when it comes to this, because I told this story a couple of weeks ago. I fell in love with an online profile. I mean, she had some great pictures. She had everything. I mean, it was just worded perfectly. And I said, "This is my soulmate." And I wrote to her and a nice opening letter and nothing.
Right.
So
Very true.
so
Another
the
thing that I would like to add to that is it's great to have all those components, but a huge component for me, and this is probably the biggest piece of the man of my dreams, is can you walk on this journey with me? I have a mission in life to help other people. And I have to have, and it's written down, I have to have somebody that will stand beside me and support me in that and say, yes, I want you to help other people. I want you to do that. And not just me do that or him do that for me, but for me to also support his dreams and goals, because that needs to be a big piece of what you talk about as a couple is your goals and dreams and where are you going? Because that very first relationship that I had, that's why it didn't work. He was like, I can't do this. You're in the public eye and I can't do it. I can't handle it. It's too much. And I was like, I understand. So that was the end of it. And that was all. So you have to make sure that all of that fits. It's not just about right now. You have to look at the big picture and the future and make sure that you are big on sharing your dreams, because what happened to me was I didn't get to have any of the dreams or goals or anything I wanted to work on for all those years. I was shut down and that nearly killed me just emotionally. I have goals and dreams and creativity and things I want to do. And if you can't do that, you will never be fulfilled individually. And if you're not fulfilled individually, if you push yourself to the side for someone else, it's never going to work long term. It may work for a while, for a year, maybe two. But if you are not fulfilling your own goals, dreams, and desires, you cannot be happy. And you will ultimately blame that person for that. So please make sure you talk about those things with the potential person. Huge piece.
Oh, that is so right. Yeah, you have to be able to communicate those things, and in a lot of respects, and Tammy, you're walking a very different journey than most of us, or than most people. So that is going to be you're going to have that's a very tough thing
Yeah.
to be able to walk alongside, or even to walk a step behind, so that you have your limelight, so to speak, so that you can continue to help people. And she makes a great point, folks, that if you push down your hopes and dreams and goals and desires, you will become unhappy.
Absolutely.
And realistically, that's why about 85 to 90% of marriages that last are just mediocre marriages. They're not great. They may be good, but we all have to morph. We all morph to a certain extent to accommodate the relationship or the marriage. But when you set all of your stuff aside to help your mate or your partner, um, that's a huge stumbling block. And guys, women are more apt to support our dreams and goals, but you have to remember to make sure that you support her dreams, her goals, her desires. And it's not all about, guys, it's not all about us. It should be about the two of you.
Right.
And you should be giving 110%, 150% to
Each.
her. Yeah,
Each.
yeah. Well, that's my point.
Each.
You should each be giving 110% to the other with no expectations in return. When you get into a relationship like that, it's above amazing. And just getting caught up here. Sam says, "Okay, thanks. That makes sense. Wow, thank you, Phil. So Phil, there you go." Shar says, "Good point. Sometimes you win, sometimes you learn. No regrets."
Regret.
And let's go back to that for a minute. And that's why I answered someone who just started reading my book this week, and she talks about online dating and the problems she's had. And the one thing that I want to reiterate is dating is about numbers.
You
You're
always say that.
yeah, well, it's true.
That's why
You
you're
know,
a relationship coach.
exactly. But relationship or dating is all about the numbers. You're and for those of you that have been on here a lot, you know that I talk about the fact that most people want to date 3 or 4 or 5 people. They pick 3 or 4 or 5 pieces of straw off the haystack and expect to find that magic relationship or that needle, and it just doesn't happen that way. And the other thing that happens is what Tammy pointed out is she learned some things that she wants in her extraordinary relationship. She learned a couple of things that she didn't want. And your must have and your deal breaker lists are dynamic. They're not static. They continue to grow as you date. So, just because you dated someone, and if it's a one and done, hopefully you learned something about that person and what you like and what you don't like, and maybe what you like in yourself and what you don't like in yourself. There's always room for growth. We need to continue growing personally. But if you get into a short-term relationship, a couple of months, 3 months, 5 months, 8 months, and it doesn't work out, don't look at it as wasted time. The only wasted time is when you recognized it was time to go, but you continued to stay. You know,
That's true.
so so as long as you're learning something, but when you recognize it's time to go, then it's time to exit and start your search over again. And that's never fun. None of us ever wants to do that. But it's one of those things that learn from each relationship, reflect back on it. What did you do right? What did you do wrong? What did I do right? What did your partner do right, and what did your partner do wrong? And then you can add those things to your must have list and your deal breaker list and roll from there.
Absolutely. It's all a journey. And I learned, uh, unfortunately, that I am a giver and I tend to attract takers. And that's just who I am. I love to give, I love to take care of people. I'm a nurturer as well. Clearly, that's why God gave me 6 children. I'm a nurturer. But I had to learn the boundaries of that. I have to learn that I have to say, no, I'm going to take this time for myself or whatever, or I'm going to go here and do this thing or take this trip or whatever it may be for you. It may be gardening or it may be whatever your hobby is. Make sure you stay true to you. If I could say that without fail, I would say that over and over again. Stay true to you. To thine own self be true. It's huge. Like I said, do not neglect all of your gifts. Do not neglect your creativity, your inspiration. Each one of you out there has something to share. Just because we're on this and we're talking and he's a host and I'm his guest and we speak doesn't mean that you can't impact lives around you. You're here for a reason and everybody has a purpose. So find it and use it every day.
Oh, that's awesome. Absolutely. If nothing else, I hope that you guys all take that away, have that as a takeaway today. That's awesome. We all do have gifts. You all do have gifts. Phil says a relationship goes from dating to dreaming for both involved. Absolutely.
Yes. It should be a team deal.
Exactly, and that's a good point. It has to be a team. It has to be a partnership. You have to be working with each other for each other. And my experience is that when one of you is going to be down from time to time, and the other is there to lift you up, and vice versa. When your partner's down, you're there to lift them up. So it's this is all a work of all relationships take effort.
Absolutely.
But what I've found is that when you're with the right person, and the term equally yoked comes to mind, but it's not just from a religious standpoint. It means that you're both invested in the relationship. You're both you're both there to help and support each other and make life wonderful for each other.
And that's a beautiful thing. And we all deserve it. And I wish that for everybody. But the main thing is finding out who you are yourself. I think that is definitely what I didn't ever take the time to do. I just became a mom, and then I was running here and there and taking care of everybody. And I put myself on the back burner. I didn't know who Tammy was, but that has been a 2-year journey of discovering who I am and what I want and what I have to have, my own quiet time, my own alone time. It's beautiful and healthy for me. And so I encourage you, find out who you are, find out what kind of music you love, find out what kind of food you love, and embrace that, Go eat the food you love, even if you go alone. I've done it many times. Just be true to you.
And see, and that's another good point. Just finding the things that you love again, and then not being afraid to go alone, to go do things alone. I talk to and especially ladies. You tend to want to go as a group, or at least have your best friend or a lady friend with you, so you're not doing something alone. But learn to do things alone, and you can be comfortable to it shows you your own strength. It shows you that you don't need to be dependent on anyone. You can be dependent on yourself. That doesn't mean you don't want someone in your life. It doesn't mean that just because you go out and do things alone that you can't be reached, or that you're an ice princess or whatever. No, it just means that you're independent enough and when you get to that point, you're dating from a position of being a position of power, because that if he's there, great. If not, okay. I'm okay either way.
Right, exactly.
And Stacy says, so true. So, and I take it that you and Stacy know each other.
Absolutely. She's one of my great friends, and she's amazing and beautiful inside and out. I lost your sound again, Rick.
Oh, sorry. Thank you.
Wasn't that bothering you again?
Yeah, it's my thumb. It's not, my thumb and my brain are not connected right now. So, but if you guys have any more comments or questions, please feel free to pop them in here. We're rapidly coming to the top of the hour. Stacy's, you're too sweet. Or you too, sweetie. I'm sorry.
Thank you.
And Phil says, my late wife of 25 years had a Chip and Dale relationship, always wanting to help and care for each other. Yeah, that's
Beautiful.
that's awesome. And that's what great relationships are like. That's what and Phil, for you, that sets the bar fairly high for the next one, but then that also sets you up to not settle for less than extraordinary. You recognize what extraordinary is like, and so and like I said earlier, it is difficult to find extraordinary. And that's why dating is a matter of numbers. We all have more than one soulmate. It's just a matter of which one we find next. And so, why don't we wrap this up, Tammy? Why don't you tell us where to find you on Facebook? You have a couple of different Facebook groups, and
I have, of course, I'm on all social media platforms. So I am on Facebook. You can just search the hashtag TGIT, which stands for Thank God It's Today, and that should probably pull up my page for you. I'm also on Instagram. Again, search hashtag TGIT, and Twitter. So you can find me on all of those platforms. I'm also on YouTube. I'm just starting to get that going. I have some videos on there that transfer from my page. Working on starting my podcast up. I'm very super excited about that. It will be all positivity and just people sharing their stories to tell how they came out of, life situations. Because like I said, I'm no different than any of you out there. You have a story to tell as well as I do, and your story will touch someone that my story wouldn't. So never be afraid to tell your story. Always please share with somebody, because somebody needs to hear it, I promise you. Just be open to sharing it. And so, yeah, you can find me on all of that social media. I'm all over Facebook, especially doing lots of vlogs, and I always share positive quotes to help people and make a difference in the world and share light and love.
awesome. And she does, folks. She does share some really great quotes and inspirational or little thoughts of inspiration throughout the day, and I catch myself scrolling through them and liking. I like that one. Oh, that's good. That's good. And then again, if you can catch some of her videos, go back and look at some of her videos. Some of them are just so impactful, and they just if they just don't if they. Well, I'm serious. They're. I think the last one that I got to see, it was like a waterfall coming down for me, because it was just so. It just resonated with me. So, anyway, folks, thank you for joining us. Tammy, thank you so much for sharing a little bit of your story with us today. If we could sit here, we could spend hours talking.
Definitely. Especially you and I, we can talk for hours anyway.
Yeah, I know, right? We have done that. So anyway, thank you for joining us, everyone. Stacy, thank you for being here. Love to have you. Phil, Sam, Shar, and let's see, Deb, thanks for joining in. Lanny, thanks for being here. Lois, Trisha, Nancy, and I think I've got everybody. Have a great and blessed week, everyone. I love you. Thanks for contributing to this program. You guys make this, and I will see you next week, and I will be right here in this same chair in Ironwood, Michigan. And hopefully I won't be making any mad dashes back to Kansas City anytime soon.
And hopefully no more gnats.
Pardon me?
And hopefully no more gnats.
More gnats. And Tammy, I will be seeing you hopefully sometime this winter. Wonderful. As I winter down in Texas.
Yay.
So anyway, have a great and blessed week, everyone. I love you, and we'll see you next Monday for Monday Mastery live at 5.